Hello everyone, I'm Eddie Emmons, the host of tonight's episode of Inside Alice House called Meet My Friends. What I consider friends, you may consider them as ghouls and goblins. Let me introduce my colleagues here. This is the matriarch Alice from the Alice House series, and this is my good old buddy Spencer Bone. Hey Spence, I'm going to tell our fans about the card game we had at your sister Alice's house a few months back. I thought you'd think that was a good idea. I'm sitting around the house on a crisp fall Saturday night, and my phone starts to ring. I pick up the phone and I see that it's my good old buddy Spencer Bone. I answer the phone. Spence asked me if I'm interested in meeting up with a couple close friends at his sister Alice's house for a little late night soiree. I said, sure Spence, I just got to finish wrapping up editing the Recluse video for the Monsters of Meridian County series. So I finish editing the Recluse video, and I decide that it's time to head over to Alice's house. Alice lives in Meridian Village, right by the Witch's Brew Diner. The Witch's Brew Diner is a small, unique diner known for their meat falls off the bone platter. By the way, which is Spencer's favorite. I arrived at Alice's house shortly after midnight, and I knock on the door, and I'm greeted by her butler, Alfred, who says, in his sly voice, "We have been waiting for you, Eddie." For those of you that don't know Alfred, he used to be a sommelier at the Blood on the Vine wine cellar. Upon Alfred's retirement, Alice offered him a job as her own personal butler. And how could he resist? It's Alice we're talking about here. I love going over and seeing Spencer's sister Alice. How couldn't I? She's the matriarch of Meridian Village and also one of my closest friends. As upon entering Alice's house, I noticed Spencer sitting at the dining room table playing AC-Doocy with a monkey paw in one hand and a glass of blood wine in the other. I also noticed Gladys, Frank, Alex, and Diane at the table as well. I sit down next to Frank. Alfred brings me my drink, which is my usual. It's a shot of Ed Gein on the rocks. So I enter the game of AC-Doocy that everyone's playing, and Spencer's getting rowdy as usual. I start a conversation with Frank, who's sitting next to me. And by the way, for those of you that don't know Frank, he's a bouncer at the Monsters Ball next to the Spooky Town Carnival. Frank's a real casual guy. Doesn't say too much but means business. Frank's a legend around here. He saved Alice and Spencer one night from getting abducted by 3 werewolves by the werewolf gang and taken over to the hillside. But Frank's brute strength and the silver bullets he had in his revolver ended up taking care of the werewolves. Needless to say, Alice cooked a succulent barbecue werewolf dinner that night that all 3 of them enjoyed. I keep losing at AC-Doocy, so I decide that I'm going to take a break. I'm walking down the hallway and I look outside and I see Alex and Diane standing out on the patio. I figured I'm going to go out and talk to them. I haven't seen either of one of them in a while. Alex, he's the funeral director at the Shady Hollow Funeral Parlor on the other side of Meridian Village. Alex has worked there his whole life. He started out as a gravedigger and worked his way up to funeral director. Funny thing is, ever since he became funeral director, a lot of the residents of Meridian Village have been complaining that their loved ones never made it into the caskets. I look over, I start talking to Diane. I ask Diane how she's been doing. She goes, fabulous since you're here. Diane works at Grizzly's greenhouse as a botanist. She's really, really good friends with Alice. She helped Alice on a special project that had to do with Venus flytraps put at her house for some special occasion that Alice was having. Rumor has it, Alex and Diane are seeing each other because they were seen together down by Meridian Creek behind the funeral parlor eating rats and snakes. So I'm standing outside talking to Alex and Diane, and we hear a bunch of yelling and screaming coming from inside Alice's house. I run inside and I see Alfred pulling Gladys off of Spencer. I grab Spencer, pull him apart, and start asking Alice and Alfred what the hell's going on. Gladys goes, why don't you ask Spencer what he said? So I look over at Spence and go, what'd you say, man? And all Spencer could say was, I wanted to smell her witch's brew. I said, yo, Spence, I go, you gotta calm down. You can't be saying stuff like that. And you don't want to mess with Gladys. She's a black magic specialist at Mystic Isabel's Psychic Reading House. She once cast a spell upon a family that lived here in Meridian Village that was becoming a nuisance. Suddenly, they all disappeared like they never existed. It's been a long night, all this ruckus over here that Spencer caused, and me losing a bunch of my money. So I figured it's time for me to head home now and get up early and continue working on the Monsters of Meridian County series, which is going to be released in the spring of 2024. I would like to thank my production team here at Wild Future Productions. Myself, Eddie Emmons, Anthony St. John, Leo Anthony, Marie Perry, and Tennille Meadowlark. If you don't know us by now, you will. Alice welcomes you to join her family by hitting the like and subscribe button. This is Wild Future Productions, where your fear begins.